I am your host, Dana, with the bad mic, joined by Mr. Danny Martinez, who is in studio using a custom grade 4K 28 resolution one.
4K resolution, Mike.
How are you doing, Mr. Martinez?
Oh, there's the R rolls. There you go. Yes, I'm good. And
Oh,
yourself?
I'm barely hanging on. That's all I got for you. I'm hanging. But yes, so we are here to talk about a lovely docu series, docu being, in quotations there, about wrestling. This is WWE Unreal. This is behind the stage. This is the footage that we're not allowed to see, but somehow we're able to see with great production value, where they're going step by step over how the sausage is made, slaughtering the cows, feeding the chickens, throwing in some vegetables, and making us a nice gumbo. So, yeah, this is essentially 5 episodes. Starts off on the road to WrestleMania, which also includes the farewell tour of John Cena, kind of the extra rise of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill and Naomi, in terms of that lovely storyline that I thought was like still one of the best storylines. Um, CM Punk's fight to headline WrestleMania and come back from 10 years in quotation marks, because he just never came back at all from there. Over 10 years of missing wrestling and him rising to the top, and other players as well. And then what happens when you put belts and you put rockets on wrestlers who you think is ready, but just may not be ready, or veterans who come back and the crowd boos them. What does that do to the psychological mind of the wrestler? So I want to know your thoughts overall as a whole. These are 5 episodes. What are your thoughts on this series? Because I know before we were like, but that was through a trailer and an announcement.
We talked about this before for all that, and I mentioned, and I still stick with this opinion, is just that I don't like the idea of seeing behind the scenes. I think the internet spoils things enough, and this kind of goes further with that. And I watched it all, and I didn't appreciate it. I didn't really like it that much, and that's because it ruins the illusion of everything. And I, of course, as an adult, I have a choice to watch it or not, and I can choose not to watch it and try to maintain that illusion as much as possible. But I, as an old man, I want everybody to experience it the same way that I did, and that is without peeking behind the curtain. But we'll talk about it later. But I do want to really also talk about my wife watching it, because she's seeing it with fresh eyes. She is not a wrestling fan. She's literally been watching it for maybe a year max, and that's like literally sporadically here and there every now and then. She doesn't watch it weekly, but I think the perspective of her is more important to this discussion than the perspective of me and you watching wrestling for 30 plus years, and understanding what kayfabe was back in the day.
Yeah, we will definitely touch in for that because as when I was watching this, obviously we were very upset about this whole situationship, where we felt that this was something that we shouldn't be seeing. And me watching this, I was like, this is genius, because what happens when you make a show about exposing the business that technically can still protect the business? Because I felt that this wasn't real. The behind the scenes of the war room, inside of the writer's room, and what really goes on. I'm like, this feels weird. This
Mm-hmm.
bare minimum room where these like 5 guys get together and create, all this magical magic, and how things just come together. It felt too serendipitous, if I'm using the right word. I don't know. You're a thesaurus and things. But it just felt like it was just too many magical moments that we just stumbled upon. And everything was well thought out, and it was a plan for something. And we know, because we watched the show, that a lot of the times it feels like they just thought of something literally on the spot and they just went with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad at this show, giving us the reality of how WWE runs. Now, I also did feel that there were things that were true with it, but I also thought that there is a line between you have to make up a storyline to fit the storyline backstage. I will, for example, get into the whole Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair moment, but I was like, this feels really kind of forced, you know. But that's why I didn't mind so much. So it just felt like a higher grade of Total Divas. So it looked like a combination of Total Divas with Roads to the Top with AEW All Access. So all of the wrestling shows at once, but I didn't mind. So as I stated before, there are 5 episodes on this, kind of talking about some of the highlights because we do follow. A lot of this has to do with Cody Rhodes, or as we call him, Cody Runnels, my government name. I'm like, why are you saying this?
How dare you?
Telling us your government? How dare you? Yes, we can Google your names, but I don't want to call you Runnels. I think I completely freaked out when it came to Rhea Ripley. Like, this is my real name's Demi, and I'm like, what do you mean Demi? No, your name is Bria.
They even went through their names from other companies. Obviously, they didn't say what companies they were from, but they went through a list of names that were not just their legal name, which was like, no.
I don't recall a Black Phil, but are you down with Black Phil? Black Phil. I thought he was gonna say like Chick Magnet. Chick Magnet. What not?
Chick Magnet
Black
Punk.
Phil. You could tell he was just having fun with this whole thing because it's not real. I love this. But kind of going off with the first episode, this kind of showed Cody Rhodes. Obviously, it didn't talk about him leaving one. And we have another thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to Cody Rhodes. It's like not associated with Unreal, but more associated with WWE. His going to WWE, which I'm sure you're aware of. That whole interview thing. I was like, oh, yeah, we're gonna talk about that. So, yes. So it opens kind of with Cody Runnels and Brandy Rhodes and the baby Liberty, and how he was trying to capture the magic of Cody and how he had to, leave and come back, and kind of how him preparing for the start of the new season for Netflix. January 6th was the new season of the Netflix, well, the first season, the first debut of Netflix, and how they have to put on a big show because they're making a big statement. And I know it would bore you right from the beginning, but this was a show that had 4 million people, and everybody thought, oh, 4 million people are going to watch on Netflix, and they didn't talk about ratings, which is really interesting, but they didn't talk about that. But they talked about that, and this was also about the return of John Cena. John Cena, as we know, more of an actor now than he is a wrestler, and this was him coming home to say, hey, I'm going to retire, and this is my farewell tour. And one of the things that I was really interested in, it showed kind of the transformation of how he made this his main staple to now he treats this as a hobby. He says, I appreciate this as a hobby. I was like, oh my God. Is he even serious about? Is this why the John Cena heel turn didn't feel like it's being executed properly? He's not really giving any thought about this because it's like this is my hobby. So yeah, so we're trying to talk about that. We go into Rhea Ripley and her real name and her storyline that involved Liv and Dom, and how Liv stole her man, and then she won the belt back and turned on Dom after he turned on her, and so. Yeah, it talked about the change of landscape in terms of how wrestling is. So, what were your thoughts on the first episode?
So the Cena thing was. It's just I don't know. I felt I didn't feel like I was really amazed by anything that was really presented on the first episode, because it was still a lot of stuff that I personally know about things that go on, not literally everything backstage, but the stuff that goes on backstage that's already been revealed, like through the internet wrestling culture, through dirt sheets, through all that kind of stuff. Including their names, like you mentioned before. It's a simple Google search, and you can literally just look that stuff up if you wanted to. As for the John Cena hobby thing, I find that kind of funny. that it could just turn into that. And yeah, it's very apparent that the it's turned into a hobby because he really doesn't like doing the heel thing, but he's very much, and this is presented throughout other episodes as well, he's very much a yes man. He's very much a yes man for the company. He, you know, he has a lot of pull and he has a lot of influence, and he'll do whatever it is asked of him, but he'll also, you know, try to put in his 2 cents. But in the end, he'll just say yes to pretty much anything because that's just the kind of guy he is for that company. So that's what it seems like. It's just like they all there's a moment in one of the episodes where Triple H is talking about bouncing back and forth between every person, figuring out what they're going to do for Elimination Chamber. And, you know, he calls Seth Rollins and CM Punk and whoever else was in the match, and whatever other booker or producers around. And then the last person they talked to that in my opinion, should have been the first person they talked to was John Cena, to say, hey, are you okay with turning heel in Elimination Chamber? So I'm just like, dude, you just wasted all this time calling all these people. What if John said no? So you kind of already know that John's going to say yes because he's a yes man. So John said, I like it. I like the idea. And then Triple H kind of says, you know, I hang up the phone and Cena's already texting me with a bunch of ideas of how it's going to go down and stuff. So it's like Cena was already on board with it. But I just find it kind of strange of how that whole thing went about. The whole Demi thing, it's nice seeing behind the scenes on her personality and things like that. But now, if you're a fan of Rhea Ripley, like now you know her real name is Demi. She's very interesting that it seems like she has always been this gothic type of person, even though she looked like a blonde surfer type girl when on her first debut in NXT and stuff. And she's slowly turning more into the personality that she kind of really is, in a sense, or maybe like an exaggerated extreme version. So a lot of the stuff is interesting. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that it was all boring and it was all just pointless. But it's just, again, a lot of this stuff is stuff that you should be able to look up in interviews and vignettes and IMDb's and Wikipedias and stuff, to kind of like, if you're interested and invested in this particular wrestler, and look up that stuff yourself. Like, you shouldn't have to have a TV show to kind of ruin the illusion for everybody else. But I also get, again, I know we'll touch on this later, but I also get that they want to grab a new demographic.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you know, but also that goes with the whole show behind the show of, like, we all know, if you're doing something as serious as turning someone heel, you're going to go and address them first. So there is that gray area of what is real and what's not real, and them still protecting what is actually real. So I think for tension and storyline within the Unreal series, we're going to go to him last.
Right.
Aha! John Cena has this idea, you know, and then when we look at it, it's like, okay. And John Cena talked about going heel many times before. And he had that interview with Chris Van Vliet. It was like, and this is how I would do it. And we didn't get that version, which would have been amazing. But I like that. How did you feel about the part of Triple H and CM Punk, even though they told the story before, of them coming together, even though it's half truth, because CM Punk once again revealed what really happened of him. And so Triple H in the story, him and Triple H, they were just basically two opposites. They viewed each other as being a threat. And when he left the company, because he was just burnt out and he felt like he would be reworked to death, they finally came back together and was like, you know, at first Triple H was like, no, I don't want him back because he doesn't sound like a different person. He's still the same man. And so once CM Punk changed his attitude, then Triple H was like, there can be a conversation. Oh, you can come back now because we see that we both changed within each other. Well, we know that before he was gonna be in AEW for a while. And then if you want to go back, it's like the Fox situation. So during the Fox, so it's weird again with that gray area, because he was trying to get back in WWE during the Fox situation when they had that show on Fox 1. And then how you can argue his attitude didn't change, but we all know because he stated before, Vince McMahon wanted nothing to do with him. I love how they just completely excuse, Vince doesn't live here anymore. Who's a Vince?
Yeah, they don't
But
mention him at all.
Vince McMahon. So it's like Triple H is like taking the blame for everything. So yeah, it was
Mhm.
me. His attitude didn't change. So that whole execution of the storyline, which is a storyline within a storyline. Did you feel that they did it?
No, actually, and the thing is that we already know that this show is produced to make WWE in a bright light. You're not going to see the down and dirty, the real drama that goes on. You're not going to with an actual WWE product. So we won't see the tension between them. What I saw genuinely, because there's a bit of truth to what they showed. I kind of felt that, and that is that they've both grown up. They both got older.
Mm-hmm.
They both did their stupid things and the stupid decisions, and they're kind of over it now. Like they're just there for the money, and they're there for the product, pretty much. And I think who was it when Punk was feuding? Punk was feuding with Cena. Yeah, with Cena. Cena has said, "Look at you now. You've turned into the person that you've hated. Business suits. You're a millionaire now. You're the main event at WrestleMania and all this and that. Like, this is an adult man now. Like, Punk is an adult man. So I think it was really them being their true selves now, being civil, and business-like, and just kind of burying the hatchet. I didn't really feel like there was any awkwardness or animosity. But I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe other people perceive it as that. I mean, also as we notice, and I hope we touch on later on, is Triple H is very much a hugger and very much a touchy-feely guy. It seems like not just with the females, but the males as well. And he seemed no different, like hugging and kind of like whispering in Punk's ear and stuff and congratulating him, and it was really emotional seeing Punk go through his WrestleMania moment finally. It was really nice. Like, my opinion of Punk. I can't stand the guy professionally because of the stupid decisions that he made back in the day, like with the early WWE stuff, the pipe bombs, his attitude backstage.
He was a child.
AEW was no different. That was only a couple years ago. So yeah, but he was full on adult in AEW, but he still acted up. So I didn't appreciate the way he was even back then. But I still respect the wrestler that he is, and the things that he's capable of, especially on the mic. Ridiculous on the mic. So I think that WrestleMania backstage moment of him being emotional and stuff like that was really nice to see. It was very well deserved. And Triple H congratulating him. It just seemed like they were two adults just trying to make things work. So it was a great moment.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I do love these tiny moments, and we'll touch upon that. It's supposed to be secret moments, but everyone has cameras and mic'd up. But I did love, especially we'll get to later, where he was like, "These men ain't shit." I love the women. Yeah. So what I do love about that is the fact that it gave off that candid response. It left a lot of things out, but it did feel like, again, this is his last straw in wrestling, period. And you could say he can go to this one and this one, but I think that you would want to land on some place that is big, especially since you walked out of some place that was small and growing, and you was kind of the star of it. And if you argue was mismanaged, you would want to go to a place that is a well-oiled machine. And despite WWE's and its controversies and the things that they do get wrong, it is a big production. It is a machine. And Cody Rhodes has explained that as well. It's a machine that you just you got to be happy to be in there. And I think that at the end of the day, WWE still has that stronghold where it's still the big mainstay company, and it's like landing a really big part. It's like basically Dr. Doom. Robert Downey Jr., we want you to come back again. Now, this is not going to be, some little rinky-dink My Little Ponytails movie. We want you back as Dr. Doom. Will you come? So of course he's going to say yes. And I think that is what is going on when it came to both Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. I did love that moment. There are some technical things that they got into, which I wanted to get your perspective on, because your wife is someone who doesn't really know anything about the business. We know about gorilla positions. We know about Gorilla Monsoon, but they broke down the production as a whole for players and who plays their part and which role and how directing and producing comes together. So the main people here is Abyss, who I just want to protect with all of my heart. His real name is Chris Park. That broke my left up. Bruce Pritchard, which is a mainstay of Vince McMahon, which we'll talk about later because I have some thoughts about Triple H, but he could have been fired, but they kept him. And you can argue he is one of the reasons as to why WWE sucks. He had some input. It was like Jey Uso instead of CM Punk winning the Royal Rumble, and we'll get into that. But we have Bobby Roode, who we have known as Bobby Roode is Bobby Roode. And he had the choir. He once had a choir. And then lastly, we have Michael P. as Hayes, which personally I think he's a mainstay of Vince McMahon, and I personally don't like him. But we're going to save up that. We're not going to talk about it. We're here to talk about the show and not my hatred for a person. So I wanted to know the technical aspects and breaking it down, because you watched this with your wife. Her understanding how this works. Was this something that interests her? That would, this is what WWE is about.
So it's funny you say that. So even in that first episode, I had to pause, or even throughout all the entire show, I had to pause the show a lot to explain the nuances and the history, because the show does a really good job of just kind of like quickly mentioning something and then kind of just moving on. It moves very fast. So she had a lot of questions, and that's actually, a very obviously a sign that she's interested. So she kept on asking a lot of questions like, I don't understand gorilla position, even though they just mentioned Monsoon. And because they just all they really mentioned was, Gorilla Monsoon was a big iconic person back then, and they mentioned something, and that's why they call it gorilla position. But she's just like, I don't get it. So I had to like pause it and kind of like explain to her more about it. And then she asked about Hayes, and then she asked about Abyss, and she was just like, who's that? And I was just like, oh yeah, Abyss, he made his reputation mostly in TNA first. He was kind of like the Kane of the Kane character back then, and I had to explain that because they don't touch on that kind of stuff. So it's like there was more questions that actually began to interest her of like who these people are, and she kind of got that idea of just like, oh, it really is like a very close-knit family, this wrestling community, that they hire these people even though they stop wrestling, that they still work backstage and they still help each other out and things. So it was very interesting that she began to ask more questions and began to raise her interest in all that stuff as the show was presenting those things to her.
Yeah, I absolutely, I love that for her, because, for someone who doesn't know, it's like, what? And then there's a gorilla, what's going on? And then they're talking, and there's a storyline, and then the refs have to come in, and everything that's being, fed to the wrestlers is first fed to the referees. So they're not just doing 1, 2, 3 counts or, disqualification. They're literally the director. They're the second AD or the second director to the match. Or you can help choreograph the match, and then you hit this, and then you hit the chair. We got 2 minutes. So I really like the inclusion of the referees as well. And even though, someone who has watched wrestling since I was like, I don't know, 3 or whatever, it's always good to like have a refresher. Like that referee he's playing the part. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. Right. He has multiple jobs at the same time. So you kind of forget that. You're trying to coordinate a match and you're trying to stay in the moment. Meanwhile, you have someone screaming in your ear. And then that also goes to whatchamaface, the commentators, sorry. And we all know the story of Michael Cole when he was working with Vince, and they would just start randomly screaming things at him.
I had to explain that to her as well. She even asked about this. And she's like, they talk to the commentators and the referees at the same time? Like, there's so much going on. And I was like, can you imagine if it was, I mentioned this too. I was like, can you imagine if it was Vince McMahon back then? He was known to be screaming in people's ears when things didn't go properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so it kind of really ends on like just talking about the pressure of everything, the pressure of John Cena making sure that his not just a singular match, but his entire farewell tour and the arc is that, it's okay. Remember, he said, don't get to page 499 of the 500-page book and
Yeah.
then we all fuck it up. We can't do that, which, we still don't know how it's going to be, but I think they already did that at like page 250, but we'll see. Um, so I really did appreciate and like that aspect of it. So then, kind of going on to episode, what is it, two? Episode two is really about the rise of a wrestler. This was the rise of Jay. Jay was with his brother, as we know, Jimmy Uso and the Usos, and this is really about the pressures of what happens when they put a rocket launcher on you. And so Jay, the oh god, I really hate this aspect. He ended up becoming the winner of the Royal Rumble. I don't know whether or not this is storyline based, but it was supposed to technically been Punk who would have won. But Bruce Pritchard was like, no, we should do Jey Uso and make him the winner, and then he would go on for his match to get the belt. So, what were your thoughts? This is more of kind of like the technical thing of kind of putting together WrestleMania for the future and building up because it was the road to WrestleMania. And then
Yeah.
the lovely thing about Kevin Owens was supposed to win the belt. So it was a whole thing of remember the whole soul, your soul belongs to me. The Rock was saying to Cody, and what we were supposed to get storyline because we don't know if this is actually real because it's fake. Was Cody was going to be like, no, screw you, and then The Rock was going to set up a match right there on the spot between Cody and Kevin Owens. Kevin
Mhm.
Owens would then win the belt, which would have been great. But in hindsight, remember, Kevin Owens ends up getting injured, so he would have ended up dropping the belt. So, did you like the alternate storylines, the what ifs that they kind of brought into that may or may not be true?
No, I didn't care for them. I mean, they were just like because obviously we've already seen all this stuff happen and unfold, like because this is well after WrestleMania, so we already know what happens in WrestleMania. We know what happens in the Royal Rumble. We know what happens in Elimination Chamber. So I was just like, oh, okay, I guess, cool. Again, that was one of those things of just like I'm a seasoned wrestling watcher, fan, whatever you want to call it. So it's like I know backstage those things happen all the time. Like they think of one thing, but then they change it last minute, or because someone got injured. So they're like things turn on a dime very quickly. So it was just like, oh, okay, nice, cool. I know what we got already. So it was kind of nice knowing it, but it was just like it was a brush off moment for me personally. But with like my wife watching it, she was just like, oh, so I kind of get it now that like things happen and change very quickly. So in her eyes, she was just like, oh, so would you have liked it if CM Punk won the Rumble? And I was just like, yeah, I guess I would have liked it if Punk won the Rumble, but he still ended up main eventing a WrestleMania anyways. So in my head, I was just like, I guess none of that stuff really matters to me, and that those illusions break because I already know what goes on backstage. So, but for her, she was more wowed about those moments that things change very, very quickly. I had to explain to her, um, the like the Kevin Owens getting injured, but Kevin Owens still had a program with Cody for a while, and he kind of stole the belt for a while. I had to explain that to her that like they still had something going on with them for a little bit, but it wasn't exactly what they had planned. So she was again more interested in it. As I continue to explain more of what happened, everything just happens very quickly on the show. So in my head, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's nice, but I already know what we got.
Yeah, well, I'm capable of like suspending belief.
Mm,
So I love the what if aspects of what
mhm.
if not Cody, if Kevin won the belt at that moment. Like, oh, you're not gonna sell your soul to me? Okay, Kevin, go in there. And then he won. And then it was like, well, then how does that work? Is Kevin Owens like Team Rock? He doesn't seem like he would be a Team Rocky guy. But who knows? He had so many great moments. Like for example, the on the spot match with Austin. Why not have The Rock? accumulate all these little moments with all the big legends. So I'm okay with the what if aspect of it. But yeah, anything but Jay. But no, Jay was be separate. But then also, Jay, I didn't to me, and then we'll talk about that when it comes to Jay's other episode. I understand. They try to make me understand why they put the rocket on Jay. And I think that it does not work if you're all like, what you may be popular to say kids and a certain subset of groups, and you have that one talent of really being able to move the audience. But if you're unable to tell a story, if you're unable to make me believe, if you're unable to, yes, go on. I see you with your hand going like
No,
this, like in church.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you're unable to hold on to that and continue that momentum and going on, you're not gonna hold on to that belt that long. And that's exactly what I had to explain to my wife, because that moment where Triple H talks to Jay back, on somewhere in the rafters, he says, "I want to put a rocket on your ass." And then I said it out loud. I said, "But you didn't." Like you put maybe like a firecracker up his ass. That's about it. Because he lasted maybe what, 3-4 months as champion, and then he lost it again to Gunther over politics because they want to do a whole Goldberg thing. And I explained that to my wife, and I was just like, this is all for show. Like, what Triple H is saying to Jay is bullshit, because I know what happens. He gives him the belt because he's popular with the kids for a brief moment, but for the older crowd, I don't think they show any interest. And that includes my wife, because even my wife questioned. She's just like, I don't see the big deal about Jay. Like, Jay is just a stupid yeet. Like the stupid yeet thing. It's just a constant yeet thing all the time. She hates it. She hates that thing. And like, and I do it to her, just mess with her all the time. I do the yeet thing just to mess with her. And she just hates it. She doesn't see the appeal. And that's because we're the older crowd. It's more for the kids. Yeah. So it didn't last. Like, he had the belt for a couple months and then lost it, re-lost it back to Gunther. And it was pointless.
Yeah, it did feel like one of those moments where it just made me so angry, because I'm sitting there and it was like, I want to put the rocket on you and you're going to have everything you ever wanted. I'm like, well, this is kind of devilly. And I'm like, but I'm sitting there like, but he doesn't have it. Even if he was to take me within that moment of when he fake said it, of you before he won the Rumble, I would have still said he doesn't have it. Jay has been involved in storylines where he had to be carried. He was not really the main character. He worked with his brother and he talked about sharing the load, but it really wasn't a sharation. It was like Jimmy was doing the main stuff. It was like the group project, and you came in to like just read off the cards. But then you got credit for it.
Yeah.
So that was for me. And again, going the yeet thing, that is not a wrestler. That is not someone who can talk. That is not someone who can captivate me. If you're looking for those moments to like hype up the crowd, yeet away. But you give me nothing. You're glitter with no substance, or whatever it goes. So yeah, and then this is a question I wanted for you. I know it's really hard to find the actual answer for this. If we were kids today, do you think we would have stuck with wrestling? Because we grew up when wrestling was wrestling, with stories, and it wasn't so glossy and glamorized in production.
I think absolutely it depends on the kid, but I'll speak for myself. But it does depend on the child, because every child has different interests, and every child has different wrestlers that they'll gravitate towards, that'll make them a fan and stuff. I think for me, I wouldn't be a fan of wrestling, and that's because for what drew me to wrestling was the unrealistic aspects of wrestling. The Undertaker, Kane, who else? I think Doink the Clown, even, like the fun, crazy, weird fantasy or sci-fi, or just or the supernatural stuff. Those are the things that pulled me in. Not like, although like as an older when I became an older fan, I love Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Lance Storm, those technical wrestlers. Love them 100%. Like they're on my top lists. But those people were definitely not be a draw for me as a child. Like the technical like Kurt Angle would not have been a draw for me as a child. Bray Wyatt, if he was still around, he would 100% be a draw for me as a child, because that aspect of the supernatural or like the cult leader type stuff would have drawn me. But those things don't really happen as much. They seek for more grounded characters, more realistic characters nowadays, and I miss the imaginative part of wrestling. So as a kid, I would not have been watching.
I think that the same thing kind of goes for me as well. I don't think I would have gravitated as much. It'd have been like a casual viewer. Like, oh, look. And I might have yeeted a couple times, but there really isn't a character that stands out that have been like, oh, wow, that's why I want to watch wrestling. And for me, it was not just one person, as you stated before. It's a multitude of different people that can, highlight something about your interest, because you have the magical, you have the suspense, you have just good storytelling in general. I remember for me, I was so engaged in the, remember Tess, rest in peace?
Yes.
Tess was engaged to Stephanie, those kind of storylines. And then she got amnesia. I'm like, this is soap opera drama.
Yeah.
And then it's like these two brothers that were dead, now they're fighting. Oh my gosh, who's in the urn? So that's much different than when we looked at Benoit at that time. What kind of wrestling is that? Oh, that's real wrestling.
Right.
As opposed to Eddie Guerrero, who's an amazing wrestler as well, but look at the character that he brings.
Right.
He's sleazy and sly. And I feel that today, especially to all you little wrestlers, I don't see that kind of diversity anymore. Within the WWE, it's so much of a copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be casual. Like, oh yeah, yay, I don't know, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns really doesn't bring me anything either.
I even as an adult, I don't see a appeal of Roman Reigns. I thank you, Paul Heyman, for making the person that he is, because I still had no interest in him for a long time. Roman Reigns has 3 or 4 moves, and he says the same thing on his mic all the time. Kids will hate me for what I would tell them about Roman Reigns, because I don't see the appeal at all.
Right, and I think that also goes for me when it comes to Cody Rhodes and then the whole storyline of he won't turn heel. And you talked about Cody Rhodes is he's a company guy, but for me, it came across as someone with no personality. And I don't think this show made it any better for me. He is someone who, turned down an opportunity to turn heel. And I think that it's more of he just doesn't have that in him. And so he's just there. And I mean this respectfully. He relies too much on the legacy of his father.
Yeah.
Where we showed the difference of Charlotte Flair, who is, Ric Flair's son, and that daughter, sorry, and how she is able to bring her own spin and her own personality. And it's like, yes, I am my father's daughter, but look at me, I'm different too.
Yes.
Look what I bring, as opposed to Cody. It's my dad. I'm doing this for my dad. I'm doing this for that. And I'm like, what are you doing for yourself?
To be honest, yeah. I don't think Charlotte Flair, whenever she does promos from NXT all the way up until now, whenever she's done promos and her rising star started to rise up, she rarely mentions her dad. She rarely uses her dad as a crutch to why she's doing what she's doing. She just does it. And there was a moment where they're talking about Charlotte Flair, and my wife was asked me, because she knows how I feel about Charlotte Flair, and I think she's very much a nepo baby, and I think she very much benefits from being Ric Flair's daughter, but she's done all the work herself. I respect that, and I 100% acknowledge that. So when my wife asked me, "Is she a good wrestler?" I said, "Oh yes." Oh, yes, she is. Like, very excitedly so, I said. I was like, yeah, she's probably one of the best there is in the company. She has shown so much of what women can do in a match. It's just that I believe that she still benefits from her daddy's name because they show this on the show too. She won the Royal Rumble and she just got back. And I was just like, that does not very much deservedly so. She deserves to be a champion. She deserves to win a Royal Rumble. She deserves to be back on top. But for her to debut and do that shit is bull, and it does not deservedly should happen. And I also mentioned to her, you notice how they marketed Charlotte Flair to come back, but they surprised us with Alexa Bliss during the Royal Rumble. Alexa Bliss got a much more huger pop than Charlotte Flair did when she debuted back in Royal Rumble.
I completely agree with that. And that, you know, when we talk about Charlotte Flair, and as when we talk about when we see with her today, I think there was a moment that clicked where there was that transformation where she became more natural. I think when we see her now and when she came back, it was something, I mean, it's not performative, but she talked about kind of the stress of the name. She and her brother, and how she's doing this for her brother, and how it not necessarily a burden, but it's something that she personally took on, and how that can be a mental weight that she has to go through. So when she comes back and it's like, oh, I won the Royal Rumble. Yes, she uses the name, but I think it's something that she would probably sit and argue you down to. I think because she was just that passionate and focused on win. And she explained in her episode about how she was unable to turn that off.
Yeah.
So that's so I do appreciate that. And I think that it gives a much softer side to Charlotte Flair, like in general, in her reception of how we see her today. So that was a lot of cracking. So I do appreciate that. So then the one quick highlight for this was basically I show speed. I show speed.
Yeah, I show speed.
We're not a TikToker, Twitcher, but that Bronson hit, that was Bronson. It wasn't Bronson.
No, Braun Breaker, yes. Yes.
He came in. I love how they did that. Oh no, we don't have anyone. What's going on? Aisha, get in there. He is what Travis Scott should have been. I feel.
I guess.
Well, in terms of like he really wanted to do it. He was really determined, and you know, we'll talk about the downfall of Travis.
God, yeah. But I think I Show Speed sold that pretty well. And what's funny is that I would use the term sell every now and then while we're watching the show, and my wife was like, I don't know what that means, and I had to explain it to her, and they explain it much later on the show what selling means, but it's so brief and so brushed off that like I don't think they truly explain what selling means. And I had to literally show her what selling means, what overselling means, and what underselling means. So I showed her like underselling, like like overselling, like for example, the Hulk Hogan Shawn Michaels match. And I showed her clips of it. I'm like, this is what overselling is. She laughed about it and everything. So I was just like, because and the reason why I brought this up was because she watches a bunch of spears happen throughout the episodes. Some from Braun Breaker, some from Edge, or who was it that not Edge, because they didn't show Edge in the show. They showed a bunch of spears, specifically also some from like Roman Reigns. He does spears like he passes them out like freaking water, like it's nothing. So she's just like, why is everybody doing spears so much? And I was just like, because it's a move that's just popular and a lot of people like to use them and stuff. But to be honest, it can actually take a toll on people, because I mentioned people like Edge who did the spear a lot, and Goldberg who does the spear, and it messes with them. It actually hurts them more than it hurts the opponent. But I mentioned Braun Breaker And I was just like, Braun Breaker's probably got the best spear in the company right now. And then we ran into the episode with I Show Speed, and they showed Braun Breaker do the spear. And I'm like, I rewinded it a couple times. I'm like, look at this spear. Look at how he sells that spear. And Braun Breaker has the most amazing spear there is. And I Show just, it looks comical and it looked amazing. And she was just like, I get it now. I understand. It looks like it hurts really bad. I was just like, yep, that's wrestling.
Some moves do hurt. There's no padding. There's no cushion within the back. It hurts, and a lot of times he's spearing you on the ground, which is padded, but it's like a very thin little pad that they have going on. So yeah, and then you saw his leg was tore up. So see, real injury. Yeah. His leg was tore up. But yeah, that was such a really great moment. And then of course we had John Cena, who didn't win the Royal Rumble, which when we were at the moment, we all thought he was going to win. But it showed him doing that press conference. It was like, I'm entering into the Elimination Chamber. So those are the sprinkles and the seeds of him turning heel anyway. I was like, no, he's just desperate. But, that's how they framed it. Again, The Rock, I think he never said, oh, no, we did this yesterday and just randomly thought it up. This would have probably been more compelling. But, Dwayne ruins everything he touches. Yay.
Now he does.
So, definitely does. Going off to the next episode, this was what happens when a superstar basically isn't allowed to shine. This was the Chelsea Green episode. It's kind of broke me. I was like, oh. Chelsea was someone who, was always there. We know she comes from multiple wrestling companies. And to come into WWE and to really claw her way, she wasn't really someone I paid attention to, but just kind of made me like, oh, look at what she's doing. And she was a company woman. She explained, you want to dump spaghetti on my head?
Yeah.
Yes. We're getting paid for this? Yes. I can pay my bill. She can buy her $600 to $1,500 skirts. So it all works out for her. So what did you kind of think of this episode? Because this was kind of basically about not getting what you want, even though you worked really hard for it. And I kind of wish that they would have highlighted LA Knight, because he never gets what he wants. And then he was champ. And then it was like, boop, that's it.
Or even people like Finn Balor, to be honest. I think he deserves more as well. But I who knows? Maybe they chose Chelsea Green because she is a yes woman for the company, and they knew that they would still kind of how do you say groom her? And I know grooming is not a great word.
Grooming is such a great
grooming. I know grooming is very much like a bad connotation nowadays, but I feel like they chose her because they can groom her to say and do whatever is needed for the show. That's what I mean by that. So I liked the episode. It was very interesting to show that not everyone gets what they want, but she looks like she eventually is getting there. But I also had to explain to my wife that this wasn't her first run in WWE, and that she is an amazing wrestler and amazing characters. Like I even mentioned to her, because again, my wife asks again, is she a good wrestler? And I said, absolutely. In fact, there has been a video that has been going viral lately of when she came back to WWE, of her wrestling Penta. She used to wrestle men and wrestle them very well. She went by the name Reclusa back then. And so she's done hardcore matches and big matches with men and women. So she knows what she's doing. It seems like what she's doing in WWE, and she mentions this obviously, is that she's just having fun. She's getting paid to have fun. And that's what she's enjoying doing. Yes, she would like to be on top, and she doesn't understand why she's not. But she's still taking it as it is, and she's not understanding why she's not being booked how she is, because she's seeing the popularity, she's seeing the pops, she's seeing the merchandise go up and stuff, and but for some reason she's not being pushed, and maybe it's politics or whatever it might be. So I really liked that side of peeking behind stage, because I feel like we should get more of that from other people, such as LA Knight and who did I mention? Finn Balor.
Finn Balor.
Yeah,
Or
there's a lot of people, or even Karrion Kross. Like, I think we should see more people speak out on that stuff backstage. But WWE is going to sugarcoat as much as they can, and that's kind of what they did with Chelsea Green's segment. So I kind of saw that.
But what I did appreciate, one thing was that she explained that in 2022 she was fired, and she was like, and then I just called up Triple H and was like,
I missed that.
I need to come back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a thing where she said she was let go from the company, and in 2022 she called Triple H back and was like, I need my job back, and he was like, cool.
It was that easy? Was it that easy?
Called him back. He was like, sure, great. But yeah, this was the moment that was really kind of sad. It was for Survivor Series, I believe, which was in Vancouver. Might have the timelines wrong.
Yeah.
But she invited her friends and her family. She's like, I want to be in a show. It's my home. And she
wasn't booked.
And I love that aspect. But that's what I kind of loved about it, which is the realistic part of sometimes you make the show and sometimes you don't, no matter how good you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so the family was like, flew in, the friends were there, and they was like, sorry guys, I'm not going to be on the show. And the sister was, let's go for dinner. So you did see the sister in there.
Yeah.
Which was nice. I kind of wondered, just like on a side note thing, if she would have been really good in AEW because of the they treat women, and I'm not saying no one's better or other, but they treat them slightly different where they can do that hardcore.
Yes.
So I just kind of wondered. I don't remember or if she was ever in AEW.
I don't think so. But the other question would be, with her perspective on things with wrestling now, would she be up for those type of matches anymore? Because she doesn't. She actually doesn't even like talking about the viral Penta and Reclusive video, because she just like that's. Huh?
She got such whatchamacallit? What's the thing when you do the thing that she got recently because she was like, yay, Hogan's, she was sad about Hogan and they got the backlash.
Oh, backlash.
She got such backlash for that. So that's kind of why she just doesn't speak out about certain things anymore. I remember like she's not on social media because she was like, even though he's a bad person, thank you for giving us the business and what you did. So then another thing, this was also the Charlotte Flair or Flu episode, which is her real Ashley Elizabeth.
Flair.
Like, how do you say it? Not Flair, Flu. This one was really interesting because she talked about the pressure of wrestling. Then she was gonna wrestle kind of to help her brother who was an addict. This was David.
Yeah.
I believe.
No, not David.
Her brother. Not David.
Not David.
So both brothers died of overdose?
No, what? David's alive.
David's alive? I've just been killing David this whole time?
Oh, now you have to make me look this up now. I don't think David died.
No, because didn't one die when they were like somebody was in WWE, or maybe my timelines are wrong because I'm old. She has two brothers?
Yeah, Flair married Robin Haskell 2004. They reside in North Carolina. Yeah, the other brother died.
So who died?
Which Flair brother died? Reed Flair. Yes, Reed Flair.
Oh, yeah, now that makes sense. David is alive. Reed. Oh, that's
because I remember talking about WCW stuff with my friend Danny, and I was like, I wonder what David Flair's doing now. I wonder if he's still trying to wrestle. And I looked him up, and he was like, he's way far away from the wrestling industry now. And I was like, okay, so he's still alive though. So yeah, I was pretty sure he was alive.
Father and his brother. My gosh. Basically, she talked about, she didn't, and that was weird. She never talked about, she never named the name. That's why I thought it was David. But Reed, completely forgot about Reed, because Reed was also in WCW. Or was that David? Jesus?
That was David. David was in WCW.
That's right. Reed was just getting started in wrestling, and that's when he fell into the addiction, and she took up wrestling as more as a support to him, which was also mirrored Paige's story. Because remember, Paige had the brother who was supposed to be the wrestler of the family. And then she got accepted in, and then the brother didn't. And then I'm hearing a story.
Question about that, actually. Speaking of Paige, because Paige said that she would take up a contract with AEW if they hired his brother, and which they did. I don't watch AEW. Are they using him for anything?
Oh, they yeeted him out the company the second that Paige left. It was
so bad. So bad.
Like, because that was the condition. And since he's not there anymore, like, why are you going to have the brother?
Yeah.
So sad. Oh,
did they use him for anything when she was still there?
Child, I didn't even know he was there.
So bad. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Angel.
So this was the big Charlotte moment where she talked about the pressures of wrestling. She kind of talked about the pressures of her name and how she is somebody who's like, you have to have a championship. You have to do this. What are we doing next in order to get to the belt? And this was during her injury. Like, she suffered her really first big main injury that really sidelined her. And then, of course, she didn't talk about, obviously, the divorce, but we know that she ended up getting the divorce from Andrade.
Almas.
Andrade. Who ended up having the son, and we're like, did she know about the son? What's going on with the son? And the son was like 10 years old. What's going on? But yeah. So it was a lot that she was going through and a lot that she didn't explain on the camera, which I don't blame you. Protect your peace.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, you know, how she did talk about how she was that driven kind of person and how the belts. And once she came back, she wasn't used to everyone turning on her. Like, the fans were like, no, we're happy you're here, but what are you doing? And that really threw her for a loop. I'm not sure if this was a Tiffany Stratton episode.
It was.
Which was a bunch of BS. It was. So that's when, you know, she was so distracted by the audience because they were booing the hell out of her. And she was stumbling and bumbling.
And to mention this is the reason why they're booing, and at least I feel like they were, was because she undeservingly won the Royal Rumble, and now all of a sudden she has a program with Tiffany Stratton, and everyone's like, here we go again, it's Charlotte Flair time, she's gonna win the belt against Tiffany because Tiffany's still, you know, new to the company, so they're gonna give it to Charlotte. Oh, this is the same thing all over again for the past 4 or 5 times we've seen Charlotte come back. It's like they were sick of it, so she got rightfully booed, and she was very confused over it.
And you saw that kind of confusion on her face. You was like, what? And then Tiffany, remember, she was stepping a lot on Tiffany's line. See, they don't really show you everything.
They don't say that.
They don't say that. How Charlotte treated other people.
Mm-hmm.
How she treated the newbies, and she was stepping all over their lines, and they was all bumbling and mumbling and grumbling. Yep. And she was the one on top. And so this is why I felt like this part could have been like really scripted, was because, remember she did the whole 3-0? And she was, and that's why Kaiser's in my DMs. So she like played that off, and then Triple H was in bed. You better go apologize.
Which we never also saw either.
Which we never saw. He didn't care. That was just a wing it kind of thing. Oh, she's really mad. And remember, like, they made it really big when it came to the online commentation, when it came from the wrestling journalist who's like, oh, they're really, everyone backstage is upset.
Yeah.
So, and one other thing that I wanted to say about Charlotte that I thought was hilarious that I forgot was when she won the Royal Rumble, and it was like, girls, make sure you clap. Yay, Charlotte, welcome back. But you saw Zelina and Alexa Bliss just go like, hey, welcome back. So that was funny. Script for the script. Poor Zelina. See, she's another one who should have been on that episode.
Yep. I agree.
But then I wonder if they would talk about, you know,
I just got through half her interview with Chris Van Vliet. I'll watch the rest of it later on today, but like, she should have been pushed to the moon the longest time ago. But I feel like just because she's like 5'0", like they don't want to do anything with her.
That's not true, because Alexa Bliss is shorter than her.
She's not. She mentions it in the interview.
She's not.
She's the shortest.
I met Alexa.
She said Alexa was like 5'2", and she's about 5. She's about 5 feet.
Because I'm 5. That's true. I'm 5 feet, and I have a picture somewhere of me and Alexa, and she's taller than me. And I'm like, how did this happen? I'm confused. But yeah. So they talked about that, which was really interesting about her, basically being all, oh no, I'm shooken up. But to me, I think it came across as the most honest of the wrestlers on camera, where she honestly talked about, I was shaken up. I had a bad year. I don't know what to do
Yeah.
without not having the belts. And this is what I wanted to say when it comes to her run now. They paired her with Alexa. Is it
Mhm.
Alexa Bliss?
Yes.
They paired her. They paired her with Alexa Bliss, and because she's not in the title picture, the big main title picture, to me it comes across as her finally relaxing and everything just flowing better. Because there was a moment, I forgot which match it was, where they was about to, I think it was Rodriguez and somebody else, but they was about to spear Alexa, and Charlotte protected her by pushing her out the way, and then she ran into her arms. Like, that was just such a cute moment. It's like she just felt much more relaxed. If you're looking on the Instagrams, which is all fake anyway, she's playing around and they're jokey, and I like the fact that we get to see this side of her.
Yes.
So in a way, the show does work. Because
We
she's
don't
used
we
to, like,
don't
oh, I'm
need to
sick.
constantly see that wheeling dealing hot rod like Ric Flair type personality from her. Like
No.
I think what appeals to people nowadays, and again, like this is not for me, but this is for everybody, the new demographic that WWE reaches for. I think they look more for a real personality, a real person that they can relate to in order to
Hmm.
gravitate towards, and I think that's what they're trying to do with Charlotte now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that was as well was amazing. Then we get into the Elimination Chamber match that we're about to have, and they focus on Bianca Belair, how she makes her own clothing, her own gear, which was a big focus also in WWE in Love, which is the other reality show that you refused to watch that was really, really good and cute. Very staged, so cute. Um, she makes her own gear, and you kind of see kind of that creative side of her. She was like, why do I need to buy something that I can make? It's part of my creativity. So I really love that process. And her
Mhm.
accidentally stabbing herself with a needle, but being too oiled up to like do anything about it. More oil. Oh, did he? So I did like that. But this was the big threw it in there. The big main one for me was this was the showdown between Jade Cargill, Naomi, in the ring with Bianca in the pod. This was the moment that was the highlight for me of the Elimination Chamber. And so we kind of see how that story goes down, where Jade was really injured and they needed a story to cover the injury.
Mhm.
And so this is what they created. And I'm like, I don't care if this was fake or making this for cameras. This was this amazing moment for me. And how Triple H, we could talk about his direct. I think he's a fabulous director. Booker, maybe not, but a wonderful director. I
Mhm.
think he needs help. That's not Bruce Pritchard. But he is a wonderful director and giving people, motivations. And this is what I want you to do. And walking Jade, because we all know she's still not seasoned, although she's been in the company for a while now. And it's like, what are you doing? I'm confused.
They brought her out. They didn't
But
even put her in development. They brought her straight out to the main roster. So of course she's gonna be. It's gonna be weird.
it's going to be weird. But, I like the fact that Triple H was gentle with her and explaining, this is what I want you to do, and taking it step by step of looking. And remember, don't rush right away and do things. Do it slowly.
Yeah.
Breathe. Yes, this man is a director. So, what was your thoughts on the setup of the Elimination Chamber match? That in general, and then of course with the Jade situation, because there was an actual match with the hair and the whipping, and them telling, wait for her to go, and then they whip her, and then she's gonna fall.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I like that a lot actually, and you're absolutely right. Like I 100% agree with the whole Triple H thing. Like I like the way that he was directing her, but still allowing her to
Mhm.
kind of do her own thing, but just giving her the tips of how to go about it. It was really nice to see the backstage planning and how it's almost like how it's like how you plan an outing with your friends and you kind of plan the basics, but then you kind of just like let's just wing it at this point. And that's kind of like what they're going with backstage. And when I was watching that part, I was thinking in the back of my head, I wonder how this would have played out if Vince was back there, because Vince was known to like really hold everything close to the chest. Like, you have to say this and that and in this way, and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that and react in this way, and everything was just strict, like his way, and that was it. There was no room to breathe, and I would have loved to see how Vince would have handled that versus how we saw it with Triple H, because Triple H was very much like, if we're going to do it this way and do it that way, give a little room to breathe, give a little, that little extra second really matters for this. If you're going to throw her, go crazy, but don't go too crazy, you know. But it's just like, it was a lot of leeway, it seemed like, was involved with the creativity, which, so I really like that whole moment.
Yeah, but also remember what we learned, whether or not it's fake or not. Jade can't remember anything when it comes to moves, or at least that was reported. So I think that's why he was extra baby and gentle with her, because we don't know whether or not it's true, but according to the reporters, she can't remember moves, which is why she's still kind of stunted in the ring.
You're right. Yeah. But it's not just that moment where you kind of see Triple H kind of allow the wrestlers to do their thing, because he says, like, during the whole Cena stuff, they didn't know what they were going to say or do exactly. They were like, it was almost like they were winging it as the process was going on, and they were just like, all right, when you go up to the ring and you fucking say this and whatever it is that you want to say, and then you're going to say something along the lines of this, and then you're going to eventually do something that's going to lead to that. So it was like he was leaving gaps in between the plans to allow the wrestlers to kind of still do their things, which I appreciated. So I saw that within that Elimination Chamber moment as well, that Triple H kind of just lets the wrestler kind of get their inputs in, or if not, just let them wing it in the ring, as long as it gets to a particular point that they want to show in the show.
Right. And I think another thing about this is also Triple H was a wrestler. Vince was a wannabe wrestler.
Right.
He always wanted to be, but never was. And that's why we get the Mr. McMahon character. And he became his own director. But by him being his own director, he wasn't trained by a wrestler who taught him what to do. So I think that really helps a lot with Vince having the understanding in the background of match and putting a match together and breathing and learning, you know what I mean? So I think that is a big major difference, which is why when we look at him within the show, we did the unreal kayfabe story of whether or not it's real, but we get to see those moments where he allows for their personality to shine. So I think if Vince was involved, still in the company period, first of all, the match would have probably just been shortened to 2 minutes. And there would have been no big storyline. That would have been it. But yeah, I did love this. And this was a moment that really stood out for me, was Triple H, the match was over, Jade was over, big thank you, congratulations, we will love you. And Triple H says, the women are better. They're pacing and understanding of the moments. They're not arguing about the moments. That is better. It's better than the men. Their egos are less. When you go down to the PC, there are 5 women for every guy. That is great. He basically said the man sucks. PC sucks.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
That's a whole. I don't want to burst your bubble on that comment, but like, do you not think that he's just saying that because of the cameras? Because if that were inherently true, you would see more female main events. You would see Evolution happen more often, or properly planned for that matter this year. You would have seen a lot more proper female content. It seems like females nowadays are still a bit of an afterthought. So although the actual comment I would agree with, I don't think it's true coming from him. You're muted.
I'm muted. I debated this in my head so much because I was like, oh, well, maybe the reason why Evolution, he didn't have any setup or wasn't involved in anything with Evolution because he knew that the women got it. Because the women are so amazing that they can run this entire show without him in his direction or even, production or even any kind of marketing. So that's why he's like, oh, women are great. Just leave them alone. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then we
Yeah.
all know who he is as a person. And I'm like, and where he's been this weekend. So I'm like, yeah, no. This week he's been somewhere that would say the complete opposite
Yep.
of his belief in women.
Yep.
So yeah, I unfortunately, but what if it's half true? What if he does believe some of the men, especially in PC, are so behind
I believe that.
that they're, it takes every 5 women is greater than just the one man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we see, that crossover so much.
And you know why I believe that so much is because I feel like women have been neglected for so long that they have strived for this more of a motivation to prove themselves. And they're proving themselves more and more and more every year. But there's still it's still an uphill battle for them because there's still more men than women that have those inflated egos that just it comes out better out it comes out with a better product.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. That's why I was like, maybe it's a half truth. We'll see. I don't believe it. But it was really nice moment for the cameras. Oh, a backstage moment of Triple H saying what he really feels about women. And at the piece, I was like, but it was hilarious how he was like downing the men. They suck. There you go.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is fake, but you really are downing
Stephanie
the
probably
men.
just told him to say that.
That makes so much more sense because we know her belief in women.
Yeah.
Always believe women.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that was absolutely hilarious, and I did love that moment, even though it was really fake, as you now say, because I was struggling with that. So then, yeah. So then, speaking of Stephanie, that's when she was like, "We're trying to evolve our brand. We love women." It's just like that's funny and a joke. Do you believe them?
And Evolution was all her idea.
Oh yes, no, see, it's remember, it wasn't just Evolution, but what was it? Give divas a chance. Remember that?
Yes, the hashtag.
The hashtag.
Yeah.
There was such a big debate over who created the hashtag. So it was me. It was me.
Yeah.
And then the Bella Twins were like, "Oh, it was me." And if you read everyone's book, it was like, "Oh, we all did this." So yeah, give divas a chance. This is such BS. So moving on to the next episode. This is when The Rock comes back to ruin it all. This was the good old fashioned moment of where The Rock comes and do you believe this? I kind of believe this. I think this is one honest moment that they kind of tried to gloss over, but then remember The Rock opened his big mouth later on. They wasn't selling any tickets when it came to the Elimination Chamber, like at all.
Wait, they mentioned this on the show?
They mentioned this. It was a very glossed over moment where he was saying the Canadian economy. Remember, he kept saying the Canadian economy. I think this was Bruce Pritchard. But he said the Canadian economy.
That went over my head. Which was like
code for it. A lot of things too. But it was because remember, you're not a woman and you're like, we're so much better.
Right.
Triple H said so. So he was like, the Canadian economy was struggling, which was the Canadian economy was fine. Nobody was buying tickets to Elimination Chamber. And in order to sell tickets to Elimination Chamber, they needed a big moment. So let's get The Rock in to ruin that whole entire thing. And this was the whole, I want your soul. And I'm going to do this. And it's going to mean something. So, yeah. So it was, they broke down exactly how it was supposed to happen, where it involved Brian Gertzowitz, which is The Rock's writer, goes all the way back from this is one of the book that I told you to read. His book is amazing. you don't read the book. This is when Edge and Christian were still in the WWE, and they had the bloodline, not the bloodline, with the blood thingy. Remember the Brood? The
Oh,
Brood
the
was
Brood. Yeah,
popping
yeah, yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
The Undertaker was the judge in the locker room,
Mm-hmm.
the locker room leader. It's
Mm-hmm.
a really good book. But anyway, this was the one where The Rock was gonna make sure that John Cena turned heel. This was the whole conversation as to how it was supposed to be happen, how it was supposed to happen, and this was Michael Hayes' idea. He was like, "Oh, hi, me. We should turn John Cena heel." And everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" So he was the one who had the bright idea. Yeah, and then this was basically a heels episode. This was like how heels run in the WWE, and I wanted to know from like your wife's perspective, did she understand the heel? Because it also followed New Day and Michael Hayes, but they didn't say P.S. Michael Hayes when he was during the Confederate
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really convenient. They didn't put
Uh,
that in there.
those were the first terms that she kind of learned when I started explaining to her about wrestling culture. So she understood
Mm-hmm.
what a heel was and what a face was. The show kept on saying baby face. And she was like, "What's a baby face? I don't understand what a baby." I was like, "It's a face." And she's like, "But why don't you just say face?" And I'm like, "Face is just short for baby face. Like it's still a good guy." So she was confused with that, but she understood the concepts already. And
Mm-hmm.
she was very confused. She was actually very surprised about New Day. She didn't know that they went heel. And it was kind of nice that they showed that moment on there as well, because I had to explain to her about Big E getting hurt, and then they did show it on the show as well, Big E getting hurt. So they went heel, and I told her legit too, like how I felt about it. I was just like, I don't like them as heel. I don't think they're as charismatic. I think they're very cookie cutter. So I don't think they're coming off very well as heels. And she's like, and when they were showing Kofi and him interacting with the family in the crowd, like she was just like, I don't feel it. She's like, I don't like their heel look or anything at all. I was just like, yeah, no, I get it. I'm not feeling it whatsoever. So she enjoyed it, I guess, just because she got a more idea of not just heel, but the heel swerve of like the Shawn Michaels moment with what's his face back in the day, the heel turn with Cena.
Marty?
Yes, with Marty. What else? Hulk Hogan, the Hulk Hogan moment when he turned NWO. All
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. She was just like, "Oh, this is really cool." So like they can switch and they use it as part of a story. It's not like they just automatically just come out one day and then they're heel, like, and everything changes. Like, no, like they turning heel or face for that matter can be part
Blake
of the
Monroe.
story. Who?
He doesn't watch AEW.
No, I don't watch it
Houston.
anymore. It's
What?
crap. It's crap.
Blake Monroe.
Who's Blake Monroe?
They was the, oh my God, I can't remember her name in AEW.
You mean in WWE?
No, in AEW. She had a feud with Tony Storm. She was
Blake
like Tony
Monroe.
Storm's little junior. Oh
But I don't
my
know.
gosh.
I don't know. I know who Tony Storm is.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Wait, now this is sad because I can't even tell you who Blake Monroe was in AEW.
Oh Lord! If I look her up, will I know?
You would probably, you should know. They had Mariah May.
Oh,
Jesus.
okay.
See, you would know, like, who? You would know she's Mariah May because she still looks like Mariah May. But she turned, okay. So within the NXT storyline is that she teamed with Jordan Grace. When she made her debut, she's like, oh my God, Jordan Grace. And she's like the little lackey. You know the thing, you want to be the little lackey for the big main star. The thing is that she came into the company, like say on a Monday, by Friday, they turned her heel.
Mm-hmm.
So it had no impact because if you're just
sudden.
watching WWE, right? You're like, who's that? Why would you tell? We don't understand. You had like 3 days to tell us who this woman was. We're confused. So WWE does suddenly turn people heel, and it makes no sense.
Yeah. No. I would 100% agree with you. Sometimes they just drop the ball with like with heel turns or just suddenly like that, with no rhyme or reason. I think recently, like for example, actually, even Becky Lynch, when she went heel, the way she turned heel was very sudden and very stupid. Like, oh my god, you're a tag team person and you just lost the belt, and now like you've been wrestling since you got back. You've been wrestling for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden you're just frustrated and angry because you're losing all the time, and now you're gonna take it out on this girl, and now you have a feud with her, and now you're heel. I'm just like, no, this is stupid. So and no, I completely understand that they drop the ball on heel turns all the time, but with my wife, she was just very intrigued that the story can intertwine the whole like turning yourself into a bad guy or a good guy or whatever. And I was telling her also, like, I can't wait for the day that one day we're gonna get a Cody Rhodes heel turn. You know, that'll probably be epic. Hopefully.
Well,
You're muted.
I am muted. I have no hope in a Cody Rhodes heel turn because of how much they dropped the ball when it came to John Cena. That should have been an epic
Wait,
thing.
no. But you have to admit, at least the turn itself was epic. The run as a heel is failing.
Well, yes, I do agree with that. So then you're just looking for that moment of like when they turn heel and not the execution of it.
Yeah.
Overall,
I just hope it's a good turn. Like it's a good moment that we will remember. When it comes to a run, I don't know if he'll do good or not. He's even commented and said stuff like, "Oh, when I turn heel, like it's gonna be bad. Like I'm gonna be a bad guy." And I'm just like, what do you mean by that? Like, are you gonna try to be controversial like The Rock or something? Or are you gonna be cursing? You're gonna be kicking Make-A-Wish kids or something? Like, what's going on?
Oh, the Make-A-Wish kids was in the show. Blessings to you, babe. But I don't think he has it in him.
Yeah.
I think he's all talk and no action. Because look at AEW. All talk and no action. You could have really showed. Look at his. You can make the argument that like in his run, like his independent run, he was heelish. From my understanding, that was so long ago. I can't remember what I did yesterday. But you had AEW, which is the company, and we'll talk about this later. The company that you helped create, and it's like, show a different side. No, I don't think he has it in him. I think he's just one of those like, oh, I'm amazing, but when it comes down to it,
do you think that he tries to keep that face persona? Yeah, because he wants to keep that like, oh, I'm amazing type of person, is because of his daddy. He doesn't want to tarnish his daddy's reputation.
But daddy was a heel.
He was still a beloved, charismatic person. Like maybe he's just worried about him fucking up another thing that his daddy has a legacy of.
This is what's so fascinating to me. And maybe we have to go back to the Stardust era. But I felt that, remember when he was Stardust and it was so much charisma? And even if you go back to the early days of BTE, when they was doing the video, when it was a YouTube show, basically, he had so much charisma. And I think the same thing happened to him when happened to The Rock. Not The Rock, John Cena. John Cena had so much charisma. Remember the rapper? Remember that's how he got started, because of the rapping. And Stephanie was like, what is this? Yes, the Thugonomics. And he was like, what is this? So I think that because you want to be so much of the main guy and the yes man, you lose that charisma. And I think that's what happened with John Cena as well as Cody Rhodes. Because remember Stardust, he was just a little guy trying to prove himself. And now he's the big main guy with the much more opportunity to be, and he is a star within the company. So he's trying to be the corporate serious. And if you look at John Cena, he's the corporate serious guy as well. I think that is the. I don't know. Maybe I would love that. Okay, but yeah, this is the episode where The Rock comes and ruins everything. What was your thought on how they tried to explain the execution of the heel turn? And of course, Travis Scott, which I was really surprised because I thought they were going to cut him out like a majority of the things because he had such a huge falling out. Which
I think everything was edited before all that happened, though.
Yeah, that is entirely true. But yeah, so what were your thoughts on that? Because this was mainly about The Rock came up with the soul part, and it was Brian who came up with the turning Cody turning the Rock heel, and there was a lot of people at play. Then this also was about Nick Khan, who Nick Khan was friends with Dwayne for over 40 years, and his involvement with it. So there was a lot of people who was involved with this, but it was small, because remember how he was like, oh, nobody knows in the company or else it would have leaked. And even production, like the director of TV was like, what's going on? And he said, just stay with it. And then you had to go with the flow and learn on the fly. That was really cool, because if you're really into wrestling and you're seeing the big heel turn, but you still got to do your job and make sure you hit the camera and the angle, I would have failed.
You know what? That moment was actually a bit disappointing. Like the idea of it is cool. That they nobody knew, yet they still had to do their job. What was disappointing is just that they weren't giving any reaction when it happened. I would have loved to see that truck go nuts and be like, I can't believe this. Stay on him, stay on him, stay on him. What the hell just happened? Like freaking out or whatever it might be. But it was like, no, it was just like, okay, camera 2, switch, stay on. Yeah, camera 1. Oh, okay. Kick him in the balls. Yeah, okay. All right, now stay on. Now Travis Scott, he's gonna smack him in the face and give him a black eye. Like just like there was no reaction still. So it was disappointing that you didn't feel that pump, like that crazy moment backstage at all. Like you just get it from the crowd and that's it. Even in gorilla position, it kind of seemed like, okay, all right, here we go. All right, cool. Now stay on him, and then switch camera this, and then do this. All right, stay. And it's just like, I was like, oh, it's kind of ruined the moment actually.
I completely agree. They should have added more because it was such a big thing. Instead, they added like, oh, here are people who did video reactions. Well, I would have known backstage.
I want to see backstage. Yeah.
I want to see the other wrestlers because there are wrestlers who were sitting there watching it. So I would have loved to have seen like, what? He did what? Oh my God. Because it's been like 20 years of the same character. And he's still playing the same character. But still at that moment, it was like, there was so much expectation of like, this is something new and crazy. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. And then you did explain the 45-minute Zoom call that they all had together. And then my favorite part was like Dwayne just saying, yeah, that's cool. I like that. Cool. And then Travis was the only one that was excited. Like
he did seem excited and appreciative, like all the stuff that he was allowed to do.
Which was like, what happened when they fell out?
Yeah.
Because he was so happy to be there. He's like, yeah, thank you, man.
It had pissed me off. What was the moment when in WrestleMania with Cena and Cody, and Travis was supposed to come out and he had that stupid hardcore title on him, and he's taking his sweet ass time walking down. Like I'm like literally like there's momentum going on in this ring, and you're taking your sweet ass time. Like that was the moment right there when I was just like, he does not deserve to be there. Because he should have understood. He should have understood the gravity of the situation right now. He should have been running down that ramp. I feel like if you would have put, sadly, I hate myself for saying this, but like if you put like Logan Paul, which is a celebrity, he would have ran down that ring. He would have understood. If you put Bad Bunny down that ring, he would have understood. I don't know what Travis Scott was thinking. He was probably high on something or whatever it might be, or maybe he was just trying to soak. He was trying to soak in his ego, because he's in the grandest stage of them all at the moment. But like he sweet ass took his time, and then I heard rumors that he was requesting a lot of stuff that is not doable for production or for a storyline wise. So WWE is like, you know what, you're stupid. You're asking for too much. We're not going to work with you.
I completely agree with you. This is when I kind of wondered, did they start falling out before that moment? And that was kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to just do this.
Right.
So that's kind of what I wondered. Yeah, it was really interesting to see. And also, really side note, whatever happened to the people? Remember the People's Champ? The belt? We never got an explanation of that.
Wait, what do you mean? The belt that he carries around?
Remember the Rock had the People's Belt?
Yeah.
And they made a huge showing about the People's Belt, and they never followed up on that. Like, what does it mean? Why do we care?
Well, no, we still never. They explained why we should care, but we just never cared. Remember, it was given to him by Muhammad Ali's wife, because he was like, they were just like, oh, you asked for Muhammad Ali's permission for something, I forget what it was, and he respected you as a wrestler, so we're giving you this belt because Muhammad Ali was the people's champ as a boxer, so now you're the people's champ as a wrestler, and this is like supposed to symbolize Muhammad Ali and his legacy. But nobody cared. It didn't really do anything for The Rock whatsoever.
No, it did.
It
That's
just
why
fed
I
his
said The Rock
ego.
ruined everything. Just fueled his ego. But I really kind of wondered what really happened because he was so excited on the phone. And then when he did the whole slap, even though he almost killed Cody with the black eye and the busted drum, I think that was all because of excitement.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now when we see him, he's like, and he's coming to the ring, and he's like, tonight.
Yeah.
Taking his sweet time. It
Trying to
kind of
look
reminded
all
me of
cool.
Penta.
Penta.
Remember Penta? He's like, do you shoot? And like the guys are beating the guy, and he's like,
he's still doing that.
metal, metal.
That's funny. Like, dude, run in the ring. Stop doing your taunt every 5 minutes. That's what I was worried about with Penta's debut. Because Penta, I love him to death, but he does this in every promotion that he's in. He taunts and taunts and taunts and taunts throughout his entire match. It's exhausting after a while.
Yeah, no, that's completely true. It's very exhausting. But at the end of the day, shout out to Marty Miller because he got all the cuts and the angles. He's the TV director because he did really good. And the whole thing, yeah, the whole thing was just terrible. Well, just the whole how they did the execution, and then we know it really kind of happened, but it made it for a really enticing moment. And your wife, who doesn't watch, who doesn't know, did she watch that
The one for the
episode?
WrestleMania
The
one we're
one
talking
where
about?
they're
Which one?
no, the one where they're putting together the terms.
Oh yeah.
Because remember it was Ruth said this, and then we had the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And they did that lovely graphic.
She watched every episode with me. We watched it together. So yeah, she liked it. I don't think she really had many questions on it. I think everything was pretty much self-explanatory. I don't remember her having any comments aside from her just commenting. She was just like, "Oh, so now I understand how it all works, and now I understand why you were so excited when the moment actually happened." Because she was watching me at the tail end, watching Elimination Chamber. She'd come back from, I think, church or something like that, or maybe like hanging out with her friend. But she came back home and she saw me watching the tail end, and she saw the Cena frown and The Rock doing this and all that, and I'm like, oh my god, and I'm just freaking out, and she's just like, I don't understand why you're freaking out over this, but now she does.
This a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a really great moment. So then kind of going off to the one thing I wanted to say, John Cena, what I do appreciate about him, he's not there to reveal the business of the business because they asked him about what is next in terms of the heel moment. And he's like, I'm not gonna spoil it. That's also because they probably
that's a valid answer.
It is a valid answer. But also because they don't know, because they are winging this.
Of course.
Of course. So then, of course, we have to go through the whole final episode, which is kind of the fail of Charlotte and the fail of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Jay's rocket ship has ran out of gas, and he keeps saying, "I was gassed out there." That right there angered me so much because it's like cardio. You can't get on a treadmill. They gave you the whole rocket ship, and the entire time you never got on a treadmill.
And Triple H warned them of this.
He warned him, and I know, like, I don't see you talking about anything. I can barely touch my toes. But you're getting gassed, and it's not like, oh, you're 60 years old, like Goldberg. Or it's not like you know what I mean? Age is not a factor. You've been doing this a while. It's not like you stepped out of the ring for a year. What is going on when you're getting gassed at this moment? When you could have easily just figured it out by getting on some treadmills, doing some extra training in between. And maybe just because I would have taken this moment completely different. But if you're telling me that I'm now on the rocket, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to exceed your expectations, or at least try to as much as I can, by making sure that I can go for time matches.
Look at
I'm not doing the
Gunther.
same
Look at
move.
the physical change Gunther went through.
And he said, "Oh, they told me to lose weight, so I did."
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't, he was told this, and then he did it. Gunther looks nothing like Gunther
Yeah.
right now,
Walter.
or Walter back in the day.
Walter. Yeah.
Walter was such a good. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the failation of Jay and Charlotte? And that was more because of the fans, and Jay was just because of Jay.
I mean, yeah, because we still saw Jay win the championship against Gunther. I kind of vented to my wife about this moment when we were watching. I was just like, I think the only reason why Jay got it was because of the push, the pops that he gets for the kids. But I think it was even worse for him to win that match on a stupid sleeper hold. Which, like, that whole match was just sleeper after, well, half the match was at least sleeper after sleeper after sleeper between the both of them. It was incredibly boring. It was incredibly dumb, but they still pumped him up and made him look like the champion in that episode. So she was just like, oh, I get it now. Yeah, it was a boring finish. And then with the Charlotte thing, she knew about the Charlotte controversy with Tiffany. And I had to explain to her, because the show was very not clear with they were very clear with Tiffany being unprofessional, but they completely omitted Charlotte Flair's shortcomings of being unprofessional. So I had to explain to her about that as well. I was just like, no, Tiffany at that moment was probably just fed up with working with her, because there have been previous promos that they did together and she kept on stepping on her lines or going off script, and it would throw Tiffany off, and rightfully so, because Tiffany still new as well. So she still has to get her groove on things as well as the champion, and Charlotte was just purposely fucking her up. So that moment I felt like was a double standard between the name Flair and this new girl Tiffany, and then just to see Triple H backstage be like, oh, that's not the way we do things, make sure that you tell her to apologize. And I'm just like, excuse me, she needs to apologize? And then they don't even show any apology for that matter. So they eventually, after the WrestleMania match they had, they showed Tiffany and Charlotte hugging, and even my wife was like, oh yeah, that's awkward. Like, I don't even know if they buried the hatchet or not. So they're hugging each other, just trying to be professional. Did they apologize? Did they not apologize? Do they still hate each other? Like, nothing was answered. They just showed Tiffany in a really bad light, and I really didn't like that moment at all.
Because that's still, I have to feel like that moment of like a 3-0 was scripted. But then you can make the argument of this. And I kind of wish that they would have showed this for people who don't know, the distinction, am I using the word right? The difference between PC and WWE, because they have to go by script, blocking. This is what it is. And they don't really leave chance to winging it so much. So Tiffany was trained that way to understand we stick to the script. She can't do the whole, what I mean, the free balling.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. But you have to also remember, as a human being, when someone keeps on messing with you psychologically, messing with your job, you're going to snap at some point. And I think that was that breaking point for her, because that breaking point was when Charlotte started mocking her voice, and she'd be like, oh my God, it's such a high voice, oh my God, it's this and that. Like, and I think that was the moment when Tiffany was like, you know what, fuck you, I'm gonna hit you below the belt.
I thought it would have been extra interesting if you really wanted to go for a really interesting moment, they would have showed Becky and Charlotte, because remember, they used to be besties.
Yeah.
And then show how they broke apart and how the business can change. Because remember, Becky was also like, she thinks she's better than everyone. Because remember the 4 horsemen of the WWE. And how basically everyone nobody talks to each other anymore, which is like so sad. But to show like what is it like coming up together and then breaking apart because either someone is pushed or because of ego. I would have appreciated that moment instead of the Tiffany Stratton one because it came across as so staged. Whether it was the apology that was staged or the 3-0 that was staged, where you're trying to create drama behind the scenes. But I just kind of
think it was legit.
You thought it was legit. Well, then it could have been legit, but the whole "you better make up and be friends" could have been the fake part because I don't think Triple H genuinely cared.
True.
Because as you stated, it was never really. Oh, they hugged. Hey, here's a hug, and that was it. But we never got to see the apology. So yeah, that's just kind of what I kind of feel like when it came to that, and I really wish that we could have got a Becky and Charlotte moment as opposed to Charlotte.
I think we'll still get a 4 horsewoman thing like that idea that you just gave. I think we'll get that eventually whenever Sasha decides to come back.
Oh, that would be interesting. And by the way, I don't like the direction of Mercedes right now. It's just tiresome.
Can't stand
it's kind of like a Cody Rhodes situation.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't like it. But yeah, so we're at WrestleMania now. We're at the WrestleManias. This is when the big show is gonna, pop off. We all know that WrestleMania. This one was WrestleMania 40 was better than 40, but this was the kind of the whole. What are you gonna do, Cody Rhodes with the Rock sitting over there in the corner and Roman Reigns and all of them? I'm surprised we didn't get to see Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you would have thought WrestleMania, the whole setup, they did talk about Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Roman. That was also the big match too. They talked about that. And what are they going to do in terms of who's gonna basically win custody of Paul Heyman? And this is when you was like, oh no, Paul's gonna choose himself. And that's Seth Rollins. You was like, it's gonna be a swerve. And it was so happy at that moment of their little swerve. But then again, it really wasn't executed as well again because it's like nobody really needs each other. Paul doesn't need Seth. Seth doesn't need Paul. But yeah, how did you feel about that and how that came together? Which was, don't know whether that's
I didn't really think much of it. I think the only part that was really interesting to see backstage, the unreal perspective is CM Punk and his history with Paul Heyman and his preparation. Like he was backstage and he was getting emotional. Like there was that moment where someone has said to Triple H, "Oh, he's freaking out. He's like stressed out right now. He's having an anxiety attack because," and he's like, and Triple H is like, "Why?" And they're just like, because like he's main eventing right now. He's about to go out there. And then Triple H goes and consoles Punk. And I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. I was like, look at them both grown up, being adults now. and again, my wife was watching this and I had to explain to her the history of, Punk being a punk. To the company growing up and the animosity they had with Triple H for a long time. She knows about the pipe bomb and all that stuff, but also the history with Paul Heyman and the whole like the sweater that he was wearing was history. The clobber in time. I told her like there used to be a catchphrase of his, and so she was like, "Oh, it would have been nice if they explained this stuff," but they didn't really explain this stuff. They just had that Triple H Punk emotional moment, so that was
It was a very nice moment. And Punk didn't have to win, and the fact that he did win, and it was like because remember in the beginning it was like the reason why we didn't like each other is because we both had egos.
Punk didn't win.
No, I meant like but he didn't win. No, he did not win. But I did like the moment. That's right. But I didn't know he was supposed to win.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, that's why I got confused. They was talking about who was going to win. I was like, Punk.
Right.
And he was supposed to also win the Royal Rumble previously. And it was talking about, and Pritchard was like, yeah, it should be Punk. And it's the only time where I'm like, I agree with you, Pritchard.
Yeah.
I hate you, but I agree with you. So, yeah, but he didn't win. Then that's when we had the Heyman screwed over Punk. And the whole thing was sad. But I did like that moment of them coming together and being, actual adults, because they both hated each other because of the ego. But everyone's ego was like pushed aside, so it was really sweet. But he still technically lost, which is like Triple H still said "ha ha." He didn't say "ha ha," but he said "ha ha." I did like the moment where he went backstage and he was also with the fans, and he was like, everybody was congratulating him. That was a very sweet moment. I did like that moment. I was looking like, where's AJ Lee? Oh, darn it. And AJ Lee, by the way, she did another con. She was asked the question like, hey, where are you at? And she was like, I don't want to work with my husband because, we just shouldn't mix right now. We're happy where we're at. I don't know if I believe that. She's not on Evolution. So maybe that's actually true. We should just give up the dream. Sadness. But yeah, I like that part, and I like the fact that Punk was telling people how you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training and preparation, which made him know that he would be okay. So him getting nervous and like, I did it, guys. That was really sweet, and I really like that. And even Hayes was really happy for him. And remember, he had some moments with Michael P.S. Hayes that were not friendly.
Yeah.
But I did love that aspect. And then of course we had what was it? Kofi was there. Oh yeah, then it was a weird moment about defecation and pooping on yourself during the match.
Oh yeah, they were talking themselves. They were talking while they were prepping for the show. Yeah, I actually they were talking about it, and my wife was like, "Does that really happen?" I was like, "Yep, wrestlers have told many stories of them doing that." And CM Punk specifically, I told her the story of CM Punk when he was on so many Z packs. Because the company was ignoring his injuries because they kept on booking him so much, and he eventually shat himself because of all the medications that he was on. And she's like, "That's crazy. Now I understand why he was always so mad all the time."
Ew. But yeah, that was true. It was cute to see Tyson Kidd is still there. So Tyson Kidd is there. It was Kofi, it was Ivar, it was Adam Pearce, it was like regular and normal. And Charlotte was just like normal. It was nice to see like a normal backstage moment when no one's like really freaking out. Jay, as you said before, the Rocket still crash landed for me, but he talked about they faked it out when it was like, oh, we're gonna tell them that we're going in a different direction, and they faked it. And Jay was like, oh, they lit a fire under me now. So that felt very staged for me because he still didn't execute it. And he still gets gassed in the ring. But yeah, so that was cute though. He's like, so that's when we got the Jay beat Gunta in the ring, and I was not really happy about that. And that's when Paul was like, "You deserve this, man." And Jay was like, "Oh my god," crying all over the place. So that was a nice WrestleMania moment for him, but it was a moment. It wasn't something that, it was a moment.
It wasn't a run. It wasn't a good run.
It wasn't a run. It wasn't a run. I did not like that aspect at all. Then I liked it was really interesting when Paul was talking that Paul, oh my god, it's so weird to call him Paul, Triple H. Sorry. He was talking about how, logic can become too predictable, and they was afraid of the show becoming too predictable. Which also goes into the match where they was talking about with who would get custody of Paul Heyman. So I did like that unpredictability, but even you predicted it. So was it really unpredictable? Because you predicted it.
I mean, I could predict it, but that was just an option when it comes to, the three options of what you're doing, or four options for that matter, because you're either going to go with Roman, you're either going to go with Punk, or you're going to go with Seth. But the fourth option would have been he would have just been by himself. He could have literally just walked out the ring and just be like, well, I choose me. So, I mean, I have a 25% chance of being right. So, they could go with anything. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I did like the nice moment that Charlotte, when this is kind of when we saw her be really nice, she was like, oh, I hope the match between her and Stratton really launches her career. So that was a nice moment that she didn't have to put in.
Yeah.
So she had really nice human moments when they just allowed it to be regular and not forced storylines and like, oh, it's apology. Better apologize.
I'm
but
hoping.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm hoping that those boo moments and those moments of negativity that she got for winning the Rumble and dealing with Tiffany kind of like humbled her. And I think that's where that's where that moment where we kind of see that is when she's talking up Tiffany. is that she's kind of understanding now. She doesn't always have to be on top. She's at this point, she's always going to be a legend, and at this point, she's got her spot as a Hall of Famer in the future. Like, she is there, so she needs to take it easy, be herself, and whatever it might be. And I think that felt like a nice real moment.
Yeah, they had a moment also with Michael B.S. Hayes, the Confederate flag, where he was basically talking about, how he felt like he was blessed. And it was God wanting what God wanted him to do with his life.
Is that God is a wrestling fan?
God is a wrestling fan, and then it was God who gave him ideas.
Yeah.
I guess that
funny.
also got him his name in the Janelle Grant lawsuit, because he's in the lawsuit. Always loving Jesus, but not practicing Jesus. Yeah. So that was a nice moment if you don't really know what's going on behind the real scenes. But I like that. And then, of course, there was, Rhea Ripley lost at WrestleMania. But she was just basically busy shopping at a weird store, so she didn't really care.
She had fun.
Having fun. Then there was the whole thing about the braid, and Bianca Belair and the braid, and like wanting to get a tattoo. I'm like, that would be a really great idea if they got a tattoo of the braid.
Yeah. Ooh, they showed the scar. Ooh, that looked bad too. Man.
That was, and what is still, and this is the part that I do love though. We don't know how the braid is constructed. Is it human hair? Is it synthetic? What makes it snap the way it snaps? You know what I mean? Because that's not her hair. That's not all of her hair.
Yeah, she even mentions that, like, because I always thought that maybe they had a mic in her hair, or they just mess with the audio or something. Yeah, she even said, like, there's nothing different. They do nothing special for her hair. Like, it's all natural. That sound it makes is all natural. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. She must have practiced as like a whipper or something to kind of get that sound. I don't know.
Or they're just lying and there is a mic in the hair.
Maybe. Very true.
I mean, I'm just trying to think logically, like, what kind of hair would make that sound?
Yeah.
But I really, and that was part of protecting the business, which is why I'm like, the show's not really real. But yeah, that braid was fascinating with that. So yeah, what was your thoughts on the finale? Because a lot of things when they
weren't on. I mean, my thoughts of the finale is me reflecting on the rest of the show, and I feel like it's just a sanitized, overproduced version of what WWE wants us to see. That's all I kept on really thinking, and I was just like, okay, this is absolutely entertaining for people who don't know anything about the company, who don't know how the things actually work, who don't know the terms and this, all that stuff. But for me, I was just like, this was no different than me watching the Vince McMahon documentary, because it was like it's not stuff. It didn't tell me anything I didn't already know for the most part. And I was just like, okay, this is what the company wants me to see and understand. This is not what really happens. Just like that documentary. So I was just like, okay, it was entertaining, absolutely entertaining. But I don't think it was anything special or anything that I would just be like, oh, every wrestling fan will love this. No, the new wrestling fans will love this, or anybody who's interested in wrestling will love this.
I have to agree with you. It was entertaining. I liked it. I took it as a show that's not really real. More like, a soap opera, and let's go behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And Barbara really can't stand, Jessica. But it was cute. And I liked it. And it was entertaining, and it was only 5 episodes. Did you want more than 5, or was 5 like a good number?
I was good with it. I was good with it. Even, by the way, even my wife would even at towards the end of us finishing the series, she was just like, yeah, a lot of the backstage stuff felt like it was staged. Like, they knew that the cameras were rolling, and you could even see it even sometimes in people's faces. They could see the camera was on them. So they would just be like, okay, let's act a little bit more like buddies, or let's act a little bit more professional, whatever it might be. It's like they knew those cameras were there, so they were staging their reactions and their conversations and their work and everything else. And she's the one that called it out, and she noticed that, and she's not even a fan like that. So if she noticed that, I wonder how many more people have noticed that type of production.
I completely agree with you. I think there was a documentary on ESPN about, remember when NXT was first coming up, and it was black and gold. They did a wonderful documentary on ESPN about that, and I was like, that's more realistic than what I just said. So yeah, I liked it, but it was fake because it was easy to see now as an adult. I think if I was a kid, a teenager, oh yeah, God, this is amazing. This is so cool. I want to be a wrestler. But yeah, I do, and I do like the fact that they highlighted people who weren't also, like not just the wrestlers. We got to learn about what goes into a show just in general, even if it was staged or faked. This is what a producer does. This is how you do the TV. This is what this guy does. The ref is more than just a ref, and all the different roles that it takes to put a show together in general. So I thought it was really great for people who just do not have that knowledge. When you just focus on watching a show, and say, for example, you're not Googling everything all the time, or nothing got leaked. Like when he was saying, what would happen if John Cena's tail turn got leaked? It never got leaked. I don't know how, but it never got leaked, which further shows that they leak their own stuff. But anyway, I really liked that aspect, and I thought that it was a good show. I don't think it's gonna win. I don't know if it's gonna win any Emmys. I don't think so. That's the whole thing, that they want to win is an Emmy.
No.
I don't really see this being like the best scripted reality show ever, and then it wins an Emmy for that. I don't know. But I would love to see more seasons of it. And there was a lot of things that they left on the table. I think maybe if we do a road to WrestleMania every year, maybe, hopefully, but I don't know, because a lot of times it's usually the same wrestlers who end up in the road to WrestleMania.
True.
All the time, which is why we're tired of Charlotte Flair. But I would have loved to have seen different players come next year, because the way how it was framed in Netflix, what do you call it? The press was like, and in season 1, and in this could be. It made the illusion that this is an open door series. We're definitely getting more than one season.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and Netflix is trying to recoup that money that they expended. Get some more eyeballs on something. Watch some ads. So yeah. So overall, I thought it was a good show. It was good. It was a good way to spend the time. I wasn't bored. I wasn't uninterested, but it was nice. But it wasn't like real. But it was a nice show. So, is there anything that you want to add, Mr. Martinez?
You mentioned that there was some other controversy thing you wanted to mention.
Okay. Let's talk about Mr. Cody and his roads, or Mr. Cody Runnels. I'm not calling this man Cody Runnels. This is terrible. But Mr. Cody Runnels, as I call him, Cody, he had an interview where he finally explained his thoughts and his reasoning as to why he left AEW. Now, again, this could be very scripted. Now, we all know, we left on great terms. It's wonderful. I respect everyone there. He essentially said that he felt very disrespected while being at the company. And we don't know who exactly he is talking about in terms of the disrespect. But let me pull it up right now so I have the exact quotation. And I want to know whether or not you felt that this was true.
Okay.
And kind of your thoughts in general. Oh, Lord. Where's the thing? Cody Rhodes. Okay, so he says this. This was the full thing. Oh, God. Jesus? Wait, hold on. Oh, my gosh. Okay, here we go. No. Oh, see? This is... Dana, you are terrible. Wait, hold on. Okay, so here it is. Clearly, there's bad blood, but there's also clearly respect and love. In the end, the way I see it is, if I felt disrespected ever at WWE, that's one thing. That's a company that was built. That's the Yankees. That's the flagship of it all. If I ever felt at WWE that I was a number on a sheet, maybe, but feeling disrespected at something I built with my friends that we built, feeling disrespected there, I wouldn't stand for it. Brandy and I both, I'm so blessed to have her. It was one of those where it was, screw it, I did way more here than you think. And you're going to find out the moment I'm out the door. I don't believe in the cold-hearted backstabbing type of revenge. The greatest revenge on earth is success. I felt like we were sitting on something wonderful, something great, a huge potentially what I was doing with the American Nightmare as a bad guy, as a good guy, something in between. We're sitting on some magic. If I'm not going to do it in the house that I literally with Matt, Nick, and Kenny built, then buddy, I'm going elsewhere. What are your thoughts on being disrespected at WWE? And could
You mean
this be
AEW?
at AEW? Sorry.
Yeah.
And is this a shot at Tony?
I mean, it has to be. I don't think he's talking about anybody else. Tony would have the absolute say in anything, because he's the financial backer. Like, yes, Cody and the rest of the guys, the rest of the elite, they had a hand in building this place. But the guy who's signing your paychecks and paying the bills is going to have the final say. When it comes to the disrespect stuff, I would have wanted him to be more specific. What do you mean by disrespect, though? Like disrespect as in like he's calling you names, he's not allowing you to do anything at all, or is it that like you're giving your input and he's shooting it down because it didn't make sense, or it wasn't going to give him the money that the income that he wanted, or is it wasn't going to put butts in seats? Creatively wise, we don't like it, that whole disrespect part is way too vague. I want to know specifics on that. And then when it comes to go ahead. Well, when it comes to the part where he says I won't stand for it, you left the company. Like, you didn't stand for it. You left. You didn't put up with it. You went somewhere else. I think if you built something, I would have tried to fight for it more. Again, I don't know what happened. I don't know what disrespect we're talking about and how long he's been putting it up with, but you make it seem like your boss was disrespecting you and then you just went out the door and you didn't want to put up with it anymore. That's the way I'm taking it. So I'm wondering, like, to what extent? Like, this is very vague. You show no proof. You have no proof. You give no examples. What is it that you're talking about? Like, there's certain measurements of disrespect and toxicity in the workplace. There's some that you have to put up with, and there's some that you don't. So I'm wondering where that level was for him, and like, where was that moment for him that he had to leave?
Oh, I completely agree. But then so many people are like, oh my God, he's talking about the Young Bucks. It can't be about Kenny because Kenny is like so laid back. Nobody cares. Okay, so previously, because people are like, oh, he's the Young Bucks because the Young Bucks said, you know what hurts the most is the lack of respect. That hurts the most. But they meant that jokingly. Because previously, Cody Rhodes has stated, I didn't leave because of the Bucks, Kenny. I'm forever bonded to those men over what we created, and I remain very proud of it. And I didn't leave because of or have issues with Punk. We got along, not money, not booking, just a personal issue, and my wanting to go for the big one.
The belt?
But remember, he took his own self out of contention for the belt when he was like, I'm not going to fight for the belt. Look.
But do we know if that was his idea or not, though?
Nobody knows that. So here is what I kind of think I maybe wonder. And I don't know whether or not this is like an ego-based situationship, because Cody, he is the best wrestler in the world. And when he left WWE to go do the indie scene, he basically proved that to himself and to everyone around there. Like, he's the best in the world. We hear this all the time. CM Punk, I'm the best in the world. He felt that, I'm going to assume that him, by being the best in the world, he should have gotten the big gold, like the big belt. So you could make the assumption of this. It was not Cody Rhodes who stated, I don't want to fight for the belt anymore. That could have been Tony Khan. Because while those boys created AEW, Tony was originally the booker.
Yes.
Remember, they were all EVPs and they all shared the thing. Tony started stripping everyone's rights away. And that's when it became, I'm the booker. This is my company. So you could make the argument that he wasn't allowed to go for the big one. But you can also make the argument that Tony saw someone who was not good enough to be the big one within the company. Or that they
Tony
wanted him
or
to go
Cody?
heel. No, Tony. Tony could have seen that Cody.
Oh, that Cody wasn't. Yeah.
That Cody wasn't the big one to win the belt and to go to be the big main guy. That he wanted Cody. Now you could maybe argue to go full heel, while Cody wanted to play both sides of the American Nightmare. Now, there were a lot of things in between that were poorly executed, whether or not that was Tony or Cody's fault. There were a lot of, remember the Anthony Ogogo situation. Remember, there were a lot of situations where Cody it never clicked with that audience. Or you could say that Cody thinks that he is so great and wonderful, he's not able to see that the audience didn't want him as the good guy. He was too representative of AEW. Of WWE. So yeah. What are your thoughts there?
I don't know the whole representative of WWE thing is it's true, because they had a WWE guy, and mind you, they had a WWE guy become the first champion there, Chris Jericho. So I don't think the WWE thing was the.
He had the name.
Huh?
He was a name.
But so was Cody Rhodes. I mean, Cody Rhodes did make a name for himself. Bigger. Oh, Chris Jericho was definitely way bigger. 100%.
Like we know him from Stardust.
So here's my theory and part of it is the stuff that you mentioned, is that I feel like Cody Rhodes was too full of himself to think that he should have the belt. And honestly, my way of thinking is I wouldn't, like, if I was running the company, I wouldn't want him to have the belt, because he already has his hands in so much of the company aspect of things, because he's an EVP. He is influential. He helped make this company. It's not a good perception to have an EVP who helped make this company become champion, because it almost feels like you're giving yourself the championship because you feel like you deserve it because you made this company. It almost feels like you made this company just for you to like blow yourself up and become a big deal. So I would hope that in Tony Khan's eyes, that's what he saw, was that it's not fair for you to ever be champion, period, because of the position that you're in. Which is why we gave it to Moxley, which is why we gave it to Jericho. Not because they were from WWE, but because they're just a big name and they're also still good. So maybe that's what was happening, is that he was trying to like put himself in like these high and mighty positions, in the show. And Tony Khan's like, no, we need to stop that right now. In fact, you should never have the title because of the position that you're in. Maybe that's what happened, and maybe that's the disrespect that Cody thinks he's getting, whereas like maybe it was actually a business decision. It's not disrespect, it's a business decision. I mean, that's one way to see it. Again, disrespect could mean a million things. If Tony Khan is literally smacking him in the face and saying you're a piece of crap that doesn't deserve to have any belt ever. In fact, I don't even want to book you on a show. That's disrespect. But if Tony Khan is making a business decision and saying, I don't want the perception of the company to feel like that this is your personal toy and that you could take advantage of it, so you should never have the belt, I see that as a business decision, not a disrespect.
I completely agree with you. But remember, Tony Khan feared for his life with just Punk. Could you imagine him and Cody? He would be under.
This is true. Tony's still no different. You already know my opinion of Tony Khan and AEW. AEW is nothing but a big play toy for Tony Khan. So in the end, but in the end, regardless of what I think, Tony Khan is signing the paychecks and paying the bills. He gets to do whatever he wants with this company, regardless of what anybody thinks. And if it's digging him into a hole or building him up to be an actual competition for WWE, regardless of what decisions he's making, this is his baby. He does whatever he wants with it.
That is very true. It had to be something. I think it was something, as he stated, that was very personal. And the only thing that I can imagine it being was the belt. Because it was something that was so egregious and so over the top. I would think maybe what was his name? Dustin would have been like, nope, I'm leaving too. How dare you disrespect my brother?
Very true. Very true.
But when, he was like, no, I'm staying. I love this company. I'm right where I'm at. I remember he ended up eventually winning the belt. He won the belt. I forgot which belt he won, but he won a belt. But I felt that it was probably an ego-driven Cody. Mm-hmm. Could have been. That one, and then the fans wasn't feeling it. Tony was listening to the fans. And remember, again, yes, you helped start this company, but who had the billions of dollars to keep it afloat? Mm-hmm. It wasn't Cody.
I think he still wanted to make his daddy proud and try to win the belt. And we already know the story with him in WWE. Like, as soon as he left AEW, we all know he had a contract that was specifically said that he had a shot at the title at WrestleMania. He was supposed to have a WrestleMania moment. And he had all that pull, not because he was just Cody Rhodes, but because he freaking created a competition now. So his name is synonymous with AEW because he helped create this company. So he had a lot of pull in making that contract and making sure he had his WrestleMania moment. So in fact, he had to force WWE's hand to be bigger than he really was again.
Oh, this is the business intestine. That's the Franklin Reed intelligence right there. But no, that makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, the whole situation to me is fascinating. But I do think that is mainly a Cody Rhodes driven situationship. His ego, most likely, because just for me, you give the same speeches that you gave in AEW that you gave now in WWE. One thing I do appreciate for WWE is the fact that he didn't just jump up and win. We got the chicken moment. So I'm very happy for the chicken moment. And if I was Vince, I would have been. Remember when he lost in, what was it, 39? And they threw a chicken in the ring?
Yeah. People thought that was supposed to be his moment to finish the story, and it wasn't.
He's just sitting there, and it's a chicken.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, Vince is much better than me. Or even Triple H is better than me, because I would have given you 5 years, and then we'll think about a belt. I'm gonna make you pay. You destroyed the throne. Are you serious?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he clearly taunted Triple H in that AEW entrance.
And that could have been another thing too. Cody could have built, as you were saying before, built AEW solely just to get back at WWE.
Absolutely.
So everything that he did was inauthentic. And I remember a time when he did the throne situation, and the other guys was like, this is not what this company is about. We're not about this. We're about focusing on our own goals and our own situation. What are you doing? So that could have also been the argument. And Tony would have been like, let's see all through you. I'm not doing this anymore. And then that's when Cody could be like, I'm taking that bag and I'm going home. Called up Vince. And that's when he appeared on. Oh, I forgot which one he appeared on. Royal Rumble, maybe. No, it wasn't Royal.
I
But
can't
the point is
remember.
he appeared,
Yeah.
and he had the same music and everything. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think this is all Cody's fault, and that is just his ego being too big. And I guess Tony won this one. He may have
Well,
lost Punk.
we'll see what happens in the future, because if Cody's not going to hold on to the title forever. So, if he ends up winning back the title, or if he never gets the title at all, let's say he never gets the title back, what's going to happen with him then? Once he starts coming down to mid-card status again and starts doing mid-card matches, what's going to happen? Is he going to pout? Is he going to complain again? Is he going to feel disrespected? And is he going to end up leaving? We might see him in AEW again because he's not getting what he wants in WWE. That might be a thing because he's not champ anymore.
He's old.
But he still wrestles. He still wants to wrestle.
Still wrestles, but I know, but I don't think that going back to AEW is going to be a thing. I just can't see it. Just like I can't see Punk going back. And many people, he's going to come back. I just don't see it anymore.
Mm-mm.
So I can't see Tony. You've gone around saying how I disrespected you. And yes, you can say the wrestling business is fickle, and everybody got cursed out before. So you'll be fine looking warrior. But I don't feel that. I think that his home, he always wanted to be at WWE. He was forced to leave WWE. He came back to prove himself. His original goal was to be at WWE. That was a little detour moment. I think he will live, wrestle, retire, and die in WWE.
Even as a mid-carder, you don't think that his ego's not going to get in his way?
He will literally walk in the steps of his daddy.
The
man can't accomplish anything else but his daddy. And I wish somebody would ask him the question, what would you be without your daddy? And I don't mean in terms of, I wouldn't be anything without him. I mean in terms of, you was in that man's son, who would you be? And you was a wrestler. Because to me, it just felt like everything was daddy, 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 daddy. And I think he will follow in his footsteps. And what happened to Dusty? Dusty literally died in WWE, still employed by WWE. So I think that's what's going to happen. That's what
maybe
it
he'll
is.
move backstage. Maybe he'll work in production. Maybe he'll be a booker or something like that.
He's gonna move backstage. It's him, I think Punk, and I think a lot of the guys. Seth, when he retires, he's gonna go in the back. So yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts. Is there any last thing that you wanted to say either about this or the Unreal or anything else?
AEW sucks.
AEW is wonderful, and also as another thing for AEW, anyone who want to watch the pay-per-views, who's tired of the bootlegging of the past, or maybe if you missed the pay-per-views because you didn't know which stream to go on, HBO Max now has all of the AEW pay-per-views in full in its entirety, all 35 of them, from 2019 to 2024, like through 2024. So they don't have 25, but they got all of the 24. So that is like 35 pay-per-views or whatever the numbers is. I failed math, but it is all there. And you can see how amazing their pay-per-view matches are. And don't listen to Danny. He's just upset that when he tried out for AEW, Tony Khan laughed in his face. Tony Khan laughed in his face and out-wrestled him. So
that's funny.
He's perturbed.
Yes.
So
he disrespected me.
And if he was a real fan of Jon Moxley, like he stated, he would have followed him no matter where he went. So he's a fake fan.
What did I say? I was a fan of Moxley.
You always said that you was a fan of Moxley. He was like, oh my God, it's Jon Moxley. Oh, give me that Moxley. So there you go. So I have been your host, Dana, joined by Mr. Danny Martinez, failed wrestler of AEW.
World Champion.
He got the belt before Cody. Check out the site. We are talking about Unreal. I know SummerSlam is tomorrow. That should be interesting. Jersey is currently flooded because we had a big storm over here. So Jersey is flooded. They had to stop construction on the SummerSlam set. So we'll see what happens tomorrow with the show. The show is tomorrow. It's on a Sunday, which is weird because I like my pay-per-views on a Saturday. But anyway, it's on a Sunday.
No,
get
what are you
some
talking about?
popcorn.
SummerSlam is a 2-day. SummerSlam Saturday,
You
Sunday.
know what happened? Okay, you know what happened? And I've been doing this an entire week. I keep confusing my days as to what day it is today. Today I
Oh.
thought was a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, today's a Saturday, so the pay-per-view is tomorrow. So technically, I'm still right. The pay-per-view is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to get 2 snaps. Oh my God, and it's 8 hours per day.
That's why I requested off for the evening.
Right. But see, and this is someone who doesn't watch AEW, who didn't see the amazing last pay-per-view that they just had. That was 8 hours long. So you cannot tell me that, oh my God, I hate AEW, but they're riding the coattails of AEW, because WWE has never really been an 8-hour show unless it's been WrestleMania. But a SummerSlam, 2 nights, 8 hours, 16 hours of wrestling. Your mama's on crack. That is crack. Triple H, what are you doing? You on crack. Respectfully. 16 hours of wrestling for one show that no one's really interested in, and you can't even sell a thing out. So there you
Booking's
go
not
with
so
that.
great for SummerSlam either.
So good luck with that. So yeah, go watch SummerSlam tomorrow and the day after. See if you can stay up for 8 hours. Thank goodness is on Peacock or Netflix or wherever you get your things. Depends on how international you are. But yeah, I'll be asleep somebody at the 2-hour mark. So I have been your host, Dana. We have stuff on the website. We got Wakanda. The Eyes of Wakanda.
Yeah.
Yes, and they moved up the date. So I'm gonna probably drag Danny back in again and be like, let's talk about Eyes of Wakanda. And he's like, no, I don't want to. Black people. So we will see.
Wow.
See, I'll never forgive you for that. It's too ghetto.
It's too ghetto. That's so bad. Oh, jeez. Don't ever do that.
So we will see you guys later.
Bye. He's still ending.
So racist my computer that said nope. Yeah. Have a great day and afternoon and evening, everybody. We'll catch you later.
That's so funny. You should